If you ever thought starting late at track would mean that you would not be great, this video is for you. I actually didn't pick up track until later in my life. It became like as a hobby later on during COVID. But here's the thing, it wasn't because I was training harder than everybody else, because I was training smarter than everybody else, or because I was doing everything different than anybody else. I just optimized a few things, and one of them being nutrition, and I'll tell you key things that I did and how I went from 50 something to 47 in just a year and a half. My name is Salman Hanok, everybody. If you haven't been to my channel before, I do everything track related, nutrition related, and a journal travel of my life in and around track and nutrition and dietetics. I'm just a recent graduate, Master of Public Health. So that being said, I've been studying nutrition for the past 7-8 years of my life. So I kind of feel like I know what I'm kind of doing in terms of like that performance aspect of it. To start off, I'll tell you my background and how I started and how I went from, I'll tell you how when I started track and how I went from 50 something to 47 and the things that I did and what you should do in order to optimize your performance so you can get similar benefits as well. So I'll show you right now. Let's go to my Athletics Canada page. This is Salman Hanok results. It says I started track 2021, but 2021 is just the random meet that I just did. If we go click on 2021, it just shows that the 4 competitions that I did on those 2 different days. Because one of them you have to qualify for Ontario provincials, and then I had to do that in order to be. So my first race ever that I did a 100 meter outdoor time, and then it says right here I ran 11:4. That's the first ever one, and then I was able to make the prelims, and then I ran 11:3 again same day, and then that was a Tuesday, and then 2 days later I ran 11:27, and then 100 meter time again 11:21. So the first week ever I ended up running 11:2 for my first ever track and field races in 2021, and 2022 marked my second year, full year, and I was like, I'm gonna be a sprinter. And as you can see here, I ran a lot of races, 60 meters, 200 meters, and then even my 300 meter time, as you can see over here highlighted, is 38. So yeah, and then I was able to improve my time the next year to 11:03. Well, that's not wind legal. 11:09 wind legally. And then 2023 is when I first did my 400 meters. So that, and then during that year, I was still trying to be a 60 meter, 100 meter runner. I was like, no, I have to be. But then, if you can see, I had consistent times of running, like consistently out. If I had 4 60 meter races, I'll probably be running it in the same time. And I was deadly scared of the 400 meters. My coach wanted me to do 400. I was like, hell no. So yeah, so the first 2023, my first ever, my coach threw me in the 400. As here the 400 meter times. There's no 50 point yet, but I have an idea. So my first 400 meters, there it is. My first 400 meters indoor on a flat track variety village meet right here. I ran a 52.53. If you see this race, I'll try to link it here below if I'm able to find the video. But I was so scared of running that 400 meters. I got out, and then I just stopped running, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I have 2 laps to go, so I'm not gonna run. And then I just finished, and I still able to run 52:45 incoming. Okay, and then the next race that I did was this one. My coach dragged me out to run a 400 meter time, and I was like, I didn't want to go. This is the time where I went to Miami. I came back the same day, the next morning, I had a race, and then this race, I ran it the same way. I got out, I got scared, and then I finished so strong that I was from last to second in the last like 120 meters. So that's when I ran 49.85, and I was like, oh, what the heck? I was so shocked when this happened, to be honest with you. The stuff that was going through my head after I finished my race, let's see. After I finished my race, I was like, that was probably a good 51, 52 because the wind was so strong and all that stuff. And I was like, yo, that would be about, I was surprised. And then my friend was like, yo, that was 49.8. I was like, what? I just ran sub 50 for the first time running outside. I was like, this is crazy. Did not expect that for me to happen. So that's my first year. I was just trying to do 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 200. I was so stubborn and I was so scared of doing the 400. And then second time I did that and then I was like, wow, I was so shocked. And then I was like, next race I had, as you can see here, 49.5. And then the next race I had 49.4. And then actually I jumped to 48.4. That's when I jumped to 48.4 at this track meet. I said at this point, what happened, every race that I did, I tried to learn and love the race more and more because I was so scared of it. But then I'm starting to realize that it's not as scary as you think, because if you run scared, you run tight, and when you run tight, you run slow. And then that's what I'm starting to realize. And then every race that I did in that time, I was like, okay, I was trying to adjust where my race plan was. And my coach always tells me to get out, get out, get out, get out. And I was always scared to do so for some reason. It's not because I was scared that I was going to hurt more mentally. It's just my body just gets tight, that anticipating that there's 400 meters left. So I would try my hardest to be like, ignore that feeling and just get out all hard. But then it just won't allow me. So there's just kind of like fight or that balance between the mind and the body, and that connection has to be there in order for you to fully accept and run. So I feel like that's one of the lessons that I learned. And then later in that year at Nationals, I ended up finishing the season with 48.1. Not much of a big difference, but I started with 49.8, so that's a huge difference in the first year. And the second year, I actually opened up, that's 2024, so that was last year. In the second year, I actually was scared. I was like, oh, did I reach my peak? So there was also that mentality. I was like, oh, it's just a one and done deal. But I have to tell myself every time. And at that meet, I was actually able to, indoor at that time, I was able to run 48.6 inside last year. And then I was like, oh, I ran pretty much to my outdoor times inside. So, oh, that means I'm improving, I have better potential. And then next thing you know, I ran inside again and it was 49.9. I was like, uh-oh. And then there was just that mental block there again. And then I was doing placement, so that, like I said, that mind-body connection wasn't there because I was stressed during my masters. I was still in dietetics. I was doing my placements. I was working with a lot. And as an athlete, you need to optimize recovery from these type of situations. So that was very difficult for me that year, last year pretty much. And then first outdoor meet I ran, I ended up running 49.1, and this was a rainy meet. We was standing there all day, and then I was like, oh wow, I'm stuck in that 48, 49 ranges. I was like, oh, this sucks. And it was a very rainy season, whatever, and they actually almost skipped our races, but insignificant. And then I ended up running 40, I think I ended up running 47.7 right after that race, actually. Yeah, I ended up running 47.7. I was really trying to break 48, and then I was stuck at 49 again. And then all of a sudden I ran 47. I was like, oh, what a nice warm day in Hamilton meet. I was so shocked. I was like, yo, I did not believe I would run 47 right away in the beginning of the season. And that says, it doesn't mean that like I didn't have the capacity to do so, but then mentally, because there was just so many mental blocks, I actually didn't think that it was gonna happen. Sometimes, and then my coach would be like, yo, you actually can run even a faster time. And as soon as I started last year, he said, you're gonna run 47 this year. And then I had the capacity to do so because I ran 48.1 and I split 46s in the 4x4, but then I just never had the chance to do so. It just never happened. And the next year that I started, which was last year, and I ran 47 right away, I was like, yo, this is actually crazy, because the only thing that I changed at that time is I started focusing more on speed work with my coach. I had the endurance, the capacity, the volume to handle races, so we just focused on speed work. And then The other one that I actually would optimize is nutrition and sleep for athletes. To be honest with you, even though I was training that much, I stopped thinking about my training and I left that for my coach. And then whatever my coach let me do, I did. And then the only thing that I could do is prepare myself to be better for practice. So I can do whatever my coach allows me to do. So to be honest with you, there's not much of a. And then I'm jumping all over the place. But then I ran 47.5 right after that. So 47.5, that was a Windsor meet. I got out and I finished strong. And I was able to match my PB again. And I was running 47s consistently throughout the season. And then at the end of my season, in July, I ran 47.5 again, similar to that time. I actually had COVID the week before and all that stuff, so that was shaky. I actually didn't think I was going to run that as well. So I think going into races without expectations, clear mind, and running free is a sign that I learned here as well. So to sum it up, okay, so despite all of that, now to sum up the 3 most important things that I learned and what people must get wrong is don't optimize nutrition, don't listen to their coach enough, and then not focusing on sleep or optimizing their performance and having too much expectations going into races. Those are the 3 main things. Now let's go into more details. When I said not focusing enough or not focusing on nutrition enough is because optimizing nutrition for track and field is so important because you can really delay your performance significantly. And if you want to know how to improve nutrition for specifically 400 meter times, just leave in the comment below and then I'll tell you specifically exactly the things that I did. But to sum up the few things that I did is one of them is I took I made sure to eat every 4 hours, made sure I had enough protein, a few supplements that I took, which are magnesium, optimized for my soreness, collagen for any injuries, and then also taking beta-alanine and beetroots for races and for practices sometimes. So those are the 3 main things. And the other one is not listening to your coach, bro. Like it's not that I didn't listen to my coach, it's just my coach would tell me one thing and I know I'll be able to do one thing, but then just going in the field and actually doing it just takes time. And then sometimes being impatient during that time and getting hard over yourself and getting hard on yourself and saying like, oh shit, I can't do this anymore, I'm not as good anymore, blah, 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 will impact your performance. So those are the 2 things. And then the other one is trying to learn from every other race that you do. So I would say that's what happened to me, and that's what changed how I became like so focused on I did wrong, but instead of like understanding that there's another race and how can I do better next time. I feel like that's the key element in my opinion. And what changed for me, and this is the 3 things that I did differently to help me improve, to get better every time, is one is I started looking at races not as the end race that I could possibly have, but more of like a race to learn to be better for the next one. So it'd be like, okay, people usually go into races assuming that, this is my last one, you get anxious and all that stuff, but think of it as like a pre-exam or a pre-test to a test. So it's not like a definitive do or die type of races. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna execute this plan, and then whatever happens, I'll learn from it moving forward. That's the one thing that I do personally and that helped me. And then the second one is meditation, visualizing myself outside of the track, and also seeing myself from a 3rd person point of view and seeing myself run the race helped me a lot, and dissociate myself from the pain that I'll be going through for 400 meter or anticipating any pain, and realizing it's just such a short amount of time that you go through pain, and disassociating yourself from the pain that you're gonna have. It helps me. It's kind of like yoga meditation. It's like still trying to find peace and calm while there's difficult circumstances around you. It's the same thing in sports. So my body's going through difficult stuff, as in like lactic or whatever, but then I'm naturally staying calm and not letting that affect my mentality and be able to finish a race or things like that. So that's the second one. And the third one is obviously being very critical a week before my races, having enough food, having enough the protein that I needed, supplementing well so I'm recovered. Those are the 3 things I feel like I did differently beyond everybody else in terms of that, and majority of it coming down to recovery. So that's the before and after video, everybody. I really hope this is not boring, and I try to really pour out really a good reflective thing that I learned during my races, and I hope some of you will learn from the things that I did. And if you want specific nutrition advice, leave it in the comment down below, and I'll be sure to see you again in 10 days. And make sure to check out all my reels for specific nutrition tips. And I post daily reels, and then I'll post long videos like this every 10 days. Depends on the topic, but this is probably the sit down one that I did. And looking forward to seeing you guys again. But I really hope that this sort of like talk helped you, because it really helped me reflect on my past and what happened and why I started track as well. So see you guys in the next video.